James having cream of Powerball soup. I'm going to talk about Captain America and these other movies. So Love Hurts, Still a Black Star, and Workaholics, the final season. And yeah, I just realized I'd already made a tag for my best boy, and I made this out of a Astro yogurt lid. And that's a yogurt that the dogs really love because it's very high in fat. But I should not eat it, not ever. But it is tasty. Anyway, this stack is a race for the bottom. None of these were good. So there were some good actors in this, like Harrison Ford's in this. I like Harrison Ford.
I think most people do.
I think most people do.
I think he likes himself too, but maybe not too much.
Anyway, and I think his character is kind of interesting. He's an old man, and he's not looking so tough, right? And here he ends up taking this medication to save his life, and it has some pretty seriously negative side effects, but turns him into like this really aggressive, basically like the Hulk, right? But red, like the Red Hulk. I don't know. I had a hard time paying attention to the movie because it was just so bad.
Is that him on the front? Or
This is Captain America. And honestly, I think the old Captain America that he replaced, he looked more Captain America-ish to me. Like this guy, I don't know. I like the idea of the Captain America back in, World War
he dates from World War II
era. I like that idea better. I don't like this modernization of Captain America at all. And this guy, he just doesn't seem like a major hero to me. Maybe it's just because he doesn't have a strong jaw or something like that. I don't know. But
Well, one of the problems is generally African Americans don't have strong jaws.
oh, so it
You
might
never
have been
noticed
tough
that,
for
but
them
yeah.
to find somebody with a strong jaw that was African American. Because I honestly don't mind them having an African American Captain America if they're going to modernize it like this. That's not a problem. In fact, it might be a good idea. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the keys for it's culturally conditioned, but for Afro-American guys to be considered handsome, if they've got a big, strong jaw, like O.J. Simpson, who considered handsome.
Yeah,
Marvin
I know.
Gaye,
That's who I was picturing when I was, and I didn't want to say it because I'm like, okay, yeah, he cannot be Captain America, but no. But,
and Marvin Gaye was killed by his dad, who was actually a evangelical type of preacher. Can you believe that? I think he shot him. Way to go, Marvin Gaye's dad. I presume he's dead now. Should have died of embarrassment.
but I don't know. I mean, Captain America as a superhero is really quite wimpy, right? He didn't have all this high-tech gadgets and stuff
All he's
like
got
that.
is his shield, which
Exactly.
is like a big frisbee.
Exactly. Whereas the modernization, I mean, he has some fancy wings that can like wrap around him like armor, and of course, fly and whatever. Which is kind of stupid. So he's kind of like a cross between Captain America and maybe like Hawkgirl or something. But I don't know.
Or Hawkman. Is
Sure.
it now Hawkgirl?
I don't know, but did anybody care about Hawkman? Hawkgirl was the
Well, there was
hot stuff, right?
Hawk. One of those was a DC product. I think that was Hawkman.
Oh, really?
But I'm sure there was a Hawkgirl to go with it.
Yeah, just maybe that's just my generation. I only care about.
But they had something
girl
like that.
superheroes.
Well, I'm mixing it up. There was Green Arrow to DC, but there was like an Archer in the Marvel
Well, Green
universe.
Arrow's kind of cool.
well, he actually had a personality, and I found it so abrasive when I was a kid. Like he was like a redhead, even though he was blonde. Right? He was really annoying. And of course, when you're a kid, you take it seriously.
Anyway, so I didn't care for the show, but there might be some sort of, it might be a good idea to have shows like this right now, but I don't know. I just didn't care for it. And so, because it sucked, honestly, as far as superhero stuff goes, I don't know if it really helped matters. If it helps having this sort of idea and then have something that you don't want to get behind. You know what I mean? For a movie. Anyway, how's the peach?
It's very new, which isn't what I was expecting. You know what I mean by
fresh.
new, right? Well,
Yeah, pretty fresh.
it's a little too fresh, but it's still
Oh.
pretty new.
Aww.
A peach in the summertime is awesome as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. So Love Hurts. I like the idea of this. Having a guy who he used to be.
Incidentally, it's a nectarine, actually.
Oh, I thought it was a peach. It seemed fuzzy to me.
Maybe it's a peach after a shade. We shaved peaches. But I think it's a nectarine.
Okay.
You know,
Well, anyway.
I prefer nectarines to peaches anyway.
So, in this movie, the basic story is there's this guy who he used to be a tough guy, really, kung fu sort of master, and he worked for his brother, who's this big baddie, and so he was an enforcer for his brother. And
So he was a bad guy too.
He was a bad guy too. He killed people. He put a lot of people in the ground, but he was in love with this one woman who she stole from his brother, and he knew that she was going to be killed because that's what his brother did. That's what happens when you steal from bad guys. And so he was in love with her. He didn't want her to be killed, so he volunteered for the job, and he didn't follow through. He told her, run, never come back, and
then he had to follow his own advice, right?
then she comes back. And so now he's in trouble too, right? Because she's supposed to be dead. And he's started a new life. He didn't want to do that anymore, and he became a real estate agent. He's a successful real estate agent, and that's what he wants his life to be. And
The trouble is, you got to have a high profile with that.
Yeah, well,
it'd be easy to track down. I'd want to be an accountant.
yeah, it might have been a better movie. For the next movie, an accountant, maybe somebody. But yeah, the problem is he's great at the martial arts stuff. Not great with the acting, so in a leading role, maybe not the best. And
he's got the look. He looks like Elvis Costello gone to seed. But he's good at the martial arts, is what you're saying.
Awesome.
Impressive.
So there's a lot of great fight scenes in here, but there's really not. They tried for a good story, and it seems like it would be good, but not many of the people have the acting chops to really pull it off, for one thing.
I heard it going in the background. It sounded like my two youngest brothers when cop shows were on, especially one in the 70s called Cannon, which had a big detective who was fat, built like a cannonball. And so my little brother would pretend he was beating up on my not so little brother, and he'd have the sound effects. He was going, that's hilarious. But that's what that sounded like in the background.
I don't know, the woman, sure, she's hot, but if I did somebody that kind of big favor and they turned up again, and I'm now they're like, well, you got to help me get my life back or whatever, and it's like, I helped you stay alive, and now you're getting me trying to help to get me killed. So the love is gone, but it isn't in this, and it's not believable for me. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this woman is bad news. She's trouble. You got to let her go. That honestly, that's how I feel about it. So
She sounds
didn't work for
suicidal.
me.
And
Just
the trouble
well,
with suicidal people is
and
they shouldn't take other people
they
with them.
shouldn't take other people with them. So still a black star. Wow, this was a stunningly bad documentary.
And it wasn't the last on your list?
Well,
That
I
is
put
stunning.
Workaholics the final season last on my list because this isn't even. I mean, Workaholics. There was only one season that I really thought, okay, yeah, that's kind of funny. I haven't watched the first season yet, but I think it was season 3 that I thought was okay. But this one was not one of the best, and they were. I mean, really, the show is bottom of a lot of stacks. Anyway.
I knew it would be bad.
But, well, I didn't.
I had no clue.
I really set myself up because I put all 7 seasons on hold, and so I
No,
meant to make,
I was talking
oh,
about
this one.
Still Black.
You knew this one would be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I did
I
too.
jumped the-
I knew it would be bad
Yeah.
when I picked it out, but I didn't realize that he was like I knew when I was reading the back, and artist activist dares to shock the world about the environmental impact of its overconsumption by creating a sprawling art museum in the middle of one of the most toxic places on earth, a fiery e-waste dump in Ghana, Africa. So that's the thing in the back. And I didn't realize that the artist was, I knew it would be well, I didn't know, but I had a strong suspicion that the artist was not going to be from Ghana, Africa, which, gross, totally exploitative and disgusting that any artist would do that if they're not from there. So, and really, sprawling art, I'm like, oh great, so they're just adding more garbage to the garbage dump, or like
I didn't
rearranging
realize
the
how
garbage in the
sprawling it
garbage
would
dump.
be.
Yeah.
After I read that, but
And
that's an
it's
understatement.
even worse than you would imagine, because like James felt that way too. You're looking at the back, reading the back of the thing, and you look at a bit, and you don't know where this guy's from or whatever. It turns out, like I thought, it was going to be some stupid American. Honestly, that's what I thought it was going to be.
Some white idiot.
Yeah.
A refugee from a university or something like that.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a guy from Japan who's also an idiot, and it's just disgusting the way he's there. He's just there to market himself, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here for you, and I love you." You know, people. I'm going to come back every year
So
to
phony.
market myself.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just ridiculous. He's just totally exploiting these people, and just to market himself. It's just another way to for him to sell his art.
Yeah.
And he's set up
Which nowadays is selling yourself. That's
Yeah.
what he's doing.
Yeah, he's set up a not-for-profit organization so that he can profit from it, and that's really
Just
what
not
we're
directly.
seeing more than not with not-for-profit organizations. It's really quite gross. But what do you do? So, yeah, there's one point in the show where he's putting up advertising for his museum. He's putting up he's put up a bunch of posters. So he's making things out of e-waste to show, and then in the documentary he's showing how he's using computers and whatever, generating e-waste to make his art.
Like he's always doing for the camera.
Yeah.
Way to go, Mago, or whatever your name is.
Yeah.
Magoo is what they should call you. As in
Yeah.
Mr. Magoo.
Most of the people there were calling him Mango, so they don't really know his name.
Well,
But
it might be
whatever.
that before G's, they nasalized an A before a G.
oh, okay.
Mango.
Okay. So anyway, there's one point where he's made a whole bunch of, like, with computers and stuff, so he's generating more e-waste so that he can create nothing of use in this
It's not even good art.
place. Well, it's okay. But the fact of the matter is he's a part of the problem, and he's not a part of any solution.
No.
Like all artists, if you're getting paid for your art, then you are parasitizing, you are a parasite off the capitalist system. If you are making money off your art, that's just how it is. So if you're an artist and you're thinking, oh, I'm outside of that, no, I hate capitalism, are you making money? Well, then you're a parasite off of the system. You're actually parasitizing working people in the system to make your stupid art. And understand, I love doing art. I consider myself an artist as much as a gardener. And I have never made any money off of it, and I hope to never make any money off of it, because I would be disgusted with myself if I did that. So I think that if you're a real artist, you don't make money off of it. If you make money selling art, then you're like the lowest of capitalist scum. Or, well, maybe not the lowest, but...
Well, you're a parasite on the capitalist system, which itself is parasitic.
Yeah.
So your cancer, certain types of cancer hook a ride on things, let's say HPV, right? That's like cervical cancer, anal cancer.
Oh, okay.
So they'll eventually find that it's a parasite on. But there will be parasites like viruses. There'll be parasites on bacteria. Bacteria that'll be parasites on worms or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
That's what these guys are like. They're like the lowest of the low. They're like cancer.
So anyway, there's one part where he was making these big posters, and he's sticking these things up all over
Shantytown.
Yeah, in Shantytown. He has like, he's stapling the posters up to like huge posters, like taller than me, up on the sides of walls.
They were
and
as
somebody
big
comes
as
out.
the walls of the Shantytown.
Yeah. So somebody comes out and they're like, are you going to give me money for putting that up? Like on my house, really? Like he's stapling it up on people's houses.
And he hadn't even checked with them.
He hadn't even checked with them.
Well,
like, what a jerk. Mm-hmm. And so the person's like, you're not putting it up there unless you're going to give me money for that, right? Like he's putting up, it's billboards for himself, to market
someone's
himself.
Private property.
Ridiculous. Totally disgusting.
Scumbag
totally offensive.
Type of capitalist.
And, so honestly, James and I like watching documentaries like this, that
they work against
what they were meaning to show, because he doesn't want to market himself to be some jerk that isn't good to the people of Ghana, Africa, or whatever, where he's building his stupid artwork. But anyway.
The trouble is he believes it.
Yeah.
What a moron.
So that's that. And Workaholics, final season. Well, all I can say about this is thank God it's over. That's good. It was the final one, yeah. And so, because it really wasn't that good, but that's that. So James is now.
What do you say that was a 9th season?
7th.
I want to talk about that art thing a little bit more.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Some other specifics. You raised some good ones.
Okay, I'm going to move this because it's really in the sun. Yeah. And it's getting hot. It's hot, hot, hot. Now there we go. Now it's in the shade.
Talking about this Japanese artist, it'll explode with heat.
Okay, so there's the case.
Mm-hmm. So here they are lifting this fancy tree. Was it?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like a Christmas tree or something like that, made out of electronic junk or e-junk or whatever you want to call it. It was horrible. They showed them digging out the equivalent of a post hole for it by hand. I hope they dug it down far enough, because if something like that came down on someone, it would just, it's tall. You can see there are many people. It looks like the raising of the flag.
Oh, and that's another thing. The kids going in to try to put out the fire, and they didn't have respirators on and stuff.
I think that fire was set by intentionally. That's the biggest fire we saw, is right around this tree. Now this tree's made out of metal, but the bottom of it, wood. I guess that's what the bottom of the tree is like. But they had the kids working around it. Some of them I don't think had masks on, gas masks on. But they could be absorbing stuff through the skin. Awful. But, if the wood had gone, that tree would have gone in one direction or the other, and there were people working all around it. He was teaching the kids how to do art, sort of, kind of like art. At the end it said one of the kids had actually sold a piece of art, we'll call it a piece of work, for $3,000 and change. We'll say roughly $3,500 or $3,600. And then behind it, after it, it said a burning boy. So that's what they call. I'm not calling them boys. That's what they call themselves. I think I've read the New Testament. It's in one of these. I guess you'd call it a pigeon or something like that. I don't know. That's politically correct. But a version of English to be found in West Africa. I think it comes from Ghana. And what they call a disciple in that. At first I couldn't figure it out because I didn't have a dictionary. I was just trying to do it by process of back and forth. I've studied enough in the New Testament when I was a kid. I was raised fundamentalist. Or they attempted to raise me to be a fundamentalist. It didn't work. It's my parents. But disciple, I was going, what does Lanin boy mean? And then I realized it's learning boy. Because it was Lanin, it was something L-A-N-I-N. The G left off at the end, and the R left off in learning, and Lanin boy. So burning boy, that'd be their own designation for these guys that burned. You can kind of see down here, where my thumb is roughly, a guy burning some sort of E-junk to get the copper that's left out of there. So they had, at the end of the movie, after showing that one person, one of this guy's disciples or whatever, had sold a work of art for, let's say, $3,600. And then they put the average burning boy earned $7 a day. And, that's comparing statistics that aren't comparable. Like, it's not as though one of the poor kids that were taught how not to do art by this guy, but stuff to sell, pretending to be art, they wouldn't be selling pieces of junk like that every day. That's only one thing. Who knows how long they were trying to sell the stuff, market the stuff. The $7 a day, is that awful? The guys are getting, that's what the copper is worth that these guys are getting from this junkyard. That's all they're worth. That's all they're producing. People don't understand. Artsy type of people in the so-called social sciences, really anti-social pseudosciences, that's what they tend to be, particularly sociology and anthropology. They don't understand. You've got to actually produce things. On average, the average person has to produce things, or else people starve. That's all these guys are worth. They don't have an education. One of the things, they are internal colonizers. I don't think the authorities would be that happy about them being in this junkyard. I've seen things like this before. The authorities don't want people in junkyards messing around. We were watching something, what was it? It was in a gold field or something like that. It's not quite a junkyard, but it was people like squatting to work in the gold fields and using, what is it, some sort of poisonous thing to help get the gold that would have been left over. I don't know if it's arsenic, something like that, not strychnine, but something poisonous, and say, oh, is this awful? No, people are being told not to do that. You go in and do it anyway. Now, they should be informed as to why they shouldn't do it, but they shouldn't be doing it. These folks come from northern Ghana. And I was going, uh-oh, what kind of religion predominates in northern Ghana? They have no right to be down in southern Ghana. This, if it's anything like Nigeria, which is not right next door to Ghana, but former English colony, kind of in West Africa, not far as far west as Ghana. There's one particular religion from the northern part of Ghana. They used to be the minority. Now they're the majority. And Nigeria is in trouble. It already was, but now it's in big trouble. Because the folks up north, in the northern part of Nigeria, the particular religion they've got, does not believe in separation of state. This anywhere in the world, they don't believe in separation of state. When their religion was formed, it was specifically designed to be, the religious ruler was also the secular ruler, the ruler of state, the head of state. And in the official, semi-official language, the official language of their major documents, their holy documents, the successors of the founder of religion are supposed to be both. They're supposed to be the head of the state and the head of the religion. That's very similar to what you've got in communism, where the head of the party, the general secretary of the party, is the head of state. Joseph Stalin, classic example. Nikita Khrushchev, Leonid Brezhnev. I think even Gorbachev was the general secretary of the Communist Party. Don't like it? Well, you just don't like reality. And have to face up with it sometime or another. And yeah, what they're doing is internal colonization, going down to the south. Same thing happened in Lebanon. Lebanon was a majority Christian, slight majority when I was a kid, and it was the paradise of the Middle East. And then they lost the majority status. And the rest is history. And it's been a very miserable history. I think the Christians lost their slight majority status somewhere around sometime in the 1970s. And Lebanon has been a hellhole ever since. This is what's going to be happening in Ghana. These folks, they had a tribal council that he was dealing with. I don't think they were elected. They're called tribal elders. I don't know if elders are elected. He didn't mention anything about them being elected representatives. But their big boss was called the chairman. And, I was mentioning the general chairman of the Communist Party. Whenever I hear that, and it's not involved with some sort of meeting where there's a chairman elected by Robert's Rules of Orders or something like that, I get a cold shiver up and down my spine. These elders and this one chairman, they're running to overweight. And actually, I didn't see too many starving people. So they're supposed to be doing poorly for themselves. I don't know what's happening here. But maybe they're eating a lot of McDonald's, and that's awful because you don't get enough nutrition. According to the guy who did Super Size Me, I never realized